In the summer of '93, Phree Valentine, 14, thought she'd finally escaped the shadows of her past when Suzette, a young Jamaican woman, offered her a room in her 2-story house. Phree dared to hope. She ignored the unease that twinged at the mention of Suzette's brother, who lived in the basement, focusing instead on the sanctuary of her new room. She attended school and held a part-time job at McDonald's. But her sense of safety began to fray when Suzette casually revealed her impending trip to Jamaica, leaving Phree under the same roof as the brother and his ominous friends. The young girl's alarm intensified when, just hours after Suzette's departure, they made their sinister intentions known. Their demand was clear. Phree was to work for them. The realization that she was trapped in a nightmare, potentially worse than the one she'd fled, sent a cold spike of terror through her heart. Phree's refusal to comply sparked a violent reaction. Her attempt to flee to her room was cut short as they dragged her down to the basement, the site of her impending horror. The air, thick with mustiness and fear, seemed to press against her as they threw her into the darkness. Her resolve hardened. She wouldn't succumb without a fight. In the basement, the true horror began. As they attempted to break her spirit and body, Phree's thoughts fractured. Memories of her past abuse and her mother's abandonment intermingled with a fierce determination to survive. She fought back with a primal rage, surprising her assailants and herself with her ferocity. Their initial shock at her resistance gave Phree a sliver of advantage. She used everything within her reach, her nails, teeth, and sheer will to fight back. The basement, a place meant to be her end, became a battleground. Each strike against her attackers was a scream for survival, a refusal to be broken. Just when her energy waned and hope seemed lost, the attackers halted, thrown off by Phree's unexpected defiance. They retreated with a warning, leaving her alone in the dark, her body and spirit battered but unbroken. In the silence that followed, Phree's fear gave way to a burning resolve. She wouldn't let this be her end. Using the darkness she'd once feared, Phree found her way out of the basement. The house was silent. Her captors having retreated to regroup, she moved with quiet desperation, her every sense heightened. The front door, once a barrier to her freedom, now stood as her escape. She slipped into the night, the cool air a balm on her bruised skin. The summer of '93 marked the beginning of Phree's realization that life was seriously unpredictable. That night, as she fled her past, boarding a Greyhound bus, she left behind the scars of an abusive childhood and the horrible events of that day. Her heart, brimming with hopes and dreams, was set on a new start. Headed towards the city distinguished by the iconic CN Tower, visible even from the mountain escarpment of her small town, the Toronto skyline had always symbolized freedom and opportunity for Phree. Now, it served as a beacon, guiding her toward a new destiny. However, as the bus made its final turn into the terminal, a nauseating fear gripped her. She had undoubtedly arrived, escaping the place she had run from, and finally reaching the holy grail of where she had longed to be. Yet, even with all that said, a pressing question remained. Where did she go from here? She gravitated toward a bulky phone book of yellow pages inside the terminal building, dropping her bags as she fished in her pockets for change. With 7 quarters clutched in her hand, she embarked on her quest to find the phone number of someone she knew who lived in the big city, Lucretia. 5 quarters in, she realized she was in trouble. Faced with an endless string of identical names, one after the other, she was told she had the wrong number. With her last quarter clutched tightly in her hand, she made a desperate plea to God before releasing it. As if guided by unseen angels, the unmistakable gravelly voice of Lucretia responded. Phree quickly explained her situation, and Lucretia didn't hesitate. "The kids are with my mom. I'll be there in less than an hour. Don't move, kid," Lucretia reassured. Hope flickered again when she reconnected with Lucretia, an acquaintance who had promised her shelter. Yet, the reality of her refuge quickly turned sour. The apartment was a chaos of unwelcome scents and sights, a far cry from the sanctuary Phree had envisioned. The men who lurked in its corners, with their unsettling stares, made her skin crawl, whispering threats of a different kind of prison. The first night, she was jolted awake by a sinister chorus of scratching and scurrying. Her eyes, adjusting to the dim light, caught the sight of rats boldly invading her space. Their beady eyes reflecting a menacing intelligence, the destruction of her cherished stuffed bear, an ear torn away in the night, was a brutal initiation into her new reality. Toronto, for all its promised freedom, felt more like a trap, ensnaring her in a web of fear and desperation. One particularly harrowing night, the line between reality and nightmare blurred for Phree. She dreamt of wandering Toronto's streets, lost and alone, pursued by shadows that took the form of the rats and the men who had caused her to flee. She awoke to a chilling scene, Lucretia, high on white icing, shaking her newborn in an attempt to silence his cries. Her decision to leave was born out of desperation. She could no longer stay in a place that felt more like a scary movie than a place of peace. Gathering her few possessions, Phree reported the incident to Lucretia's mother and left Lucretia's apartment before dawn. Her journey through the city was a testament to her resilience. She navigated the indifferent crowds and the maze of streets with a single goal: to find a way out of the nightmare. The city that had promised a new beginning revealed its true face. Like anywhere else, it was a blend of light and darkness. But Phree was stronger than she had ever known. The horrors she faced that summer, the betrayal of her hopes, only served to forge her will to survive. She carried on, not as a defeated runaway, but as a young girl who had faced the darkness and emerged on the other side, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. In the end, Phree came to realize it wasn't the Six. The world was a city of contrasts, a place where dreams could turn into nightmares, but also where amazing realities could be shaped by those determined to find the power to overcome fear, look beyond the shadows, and find their path to healing and divine light.
This story is rooted in truth. Honestly, it really happened. To set the record straight, Phree wasn't a runaway, though fear for her safety did drive her to consider it once or twice. Here's the hard truth. At just 13, Phree was handed a suitcase by her mother and told to find somewhere else to live, in a plea of desperation to keep her husband around. Yes, the very person she knew was responsible for causing Phree immeasurable physical, verbal, and psychological pain, but also inadvertently responsible for Phree's incredible survival instincts and brute strength. Thanks for tuning in. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe.